Greetings everyone. In this video I want to talk a little bit more about moving, but specifically about moving out of your home country.
Greetings! This infinite source truth is made possible by the generous contributions and support of viewers like you. Please consider making a contribution now. Thank you.
Always when you move, you should be guided and directed by your source self that it will benefit you. Now, some of you may be desiring to leave your country of birth or the country that you are currently a resident of. There are a lot of things to take into consideration before you just make that move. There is a lot involved with immigration and residency versus being a tourist. And it all starts with visas. Does the country that you're from require a visa if you are going to stay in another country? Do you have to have a visa before you arrive, or can you just arrive and be able to stay for 30 days and change that into a longer term visa? Are you old enough to be considered a retirement age where if you have enough money you can stay longer? Are you too young for a retirement visa but you've got plenty of money? Are you not well off financially but you're looking to spend less money in countries that cost less to live in? And all of these things. Now, most countries, unless you have a long-term visa, and each country is different for what they require for long-term visas, and you would have to research that out depending on the country that you currently are living in and where your passport is from, as to what the requirements would be for you to enter and live in another country. Your visa is very important. Now let's talk about a few other things. If you're going to a country that you have to leave that country every 90 days, exit and get another visa to come in and stay for a length of time, then you need to factor in the costs of those little trips going out and returning. If you have to, these are expenses. They're expenses. You need to be aware that you can only take so much cash out of a country without declaring it or declaring it on your arrival. Now, those sums are usually a good amount, so that's not an issue. But you don't want to travel with no cash on you because your credit or debit card may not work when you first arrive in a country. Now, let's talk about banking. If you have a bank account and you sell everything and you leave, now, how do you maintain that bank account in the country that you left? You have to have a residential address to keep that bank account open, which means you're usually going to be using a relative's address, maybe your parents' address, or something. Is your Visa or debit card or your credit card an international card? Will it work if you go to another country? You need to tell your bank before you go, otherwise they will flag it as possible fraudulent activity and your card will not work anymore. So you'll have no way of getting access to your funds. These are all things that you need to prepare for and be ready for if you decide to make a journey to another country. Whether it's a vacation, holiday, or you are going there to live for any length of time. Now, many countries you can go in and you can obtain a job, and then your visa you will change over to a work permit type of a visa. Many young people especially go looking to teach English as a second language, ESL classes in another country. They get paid an amount that will cover their room and board. They're working in that foreign country, experiencing the culture and living outside of their home country. You need to decide if that's something for you or not. Then there are what they call digital nomads, who are photographers, bloggers, article writers, and they simply keep traveling. They don't stay in any country any particular length of time. Now, if you are the type of person that needs stability and not moving around, then you need to realize that when you choose that type of a path of exiting your home country and living abroad, it is a different lifestyle. You don't have your friends and family around you, which can be a good thing. But it can also create a longing for those relationships and that familiarity that you have left. There is the potential stress of a move, and you are in a different culture and it's totally foreign to you. And if you are going into a foreign culture, then those foreign people, you are different. You don't fit in. Will they invest the time to really befriend you and become good friends with you, knowing that you are only going to be there for 3 months or whatever? People don't stay in countries very long before they pick up and move. They either go back where they came from or they continue on and go to another country. There are so many things to take into consideration. It's not something you should do just in a whim or a thought to do. If you're going to do it, you need to go prepared, and you need to have money to be able to do it. Now, can you go online and get an English as a second language job even before you go to another area? Sure you can. Can you find jobs online before you go? Yes, you can. Can you research an area before you go? Yes, you can. The internet makes it really easy now for you to research areas, what the cost of living is in various areas, compared to where you are right now. What different items that you would be buying and utility costs would be in different areas. Now, there is a difference between being a tourist somewhere and having residence someplace. A tourist lives in official tourist accommodations. A tourist cannot rent a house, have a phone bill, have an electric bill in their name. They are there as tourists. Okay? They have no residency. That is a big difference. Now, if you have residency somewhere, you can rent a place to live cheaper. You can pay your own utility bills. You can have a phone bill rather than just simply a SIM card. You can have a bank account. You can do a lot of things having a residency situation versus a simple tourist visa. Is the area that you're moving to, does it have adequate, if you're not going to be driving, does it have adequate transportation? Buses, trains, taxis, a way of getting around, subway, above ground transport, whatever. Don't expect going someplace in another country. It is an adventure, and it can be huge culture shock, as the foods are not the foods that you're used to. You may not even be able to buy or find the products the same as they were in your own home country. And they can even have the same brand name on them, but they won't taste the same because they were processed in a different part of the world, and their recipe for that same thing is different. It's an experience. And you need to enjoy the experience wherever you are. Whether you stay where you are, if you're where you're supposed to be, or if you're going to go and live abroad or experience world travel or in living in other countries. It can be a challenge. It could be fun. It will definitely be different. Now, researching the area that you're going to. YouTube has lots of videos from bloggers and bloggers all over the world. And any location or city that you're thinking about, you could probably find being covered on YouTube. As well as prices. The internet has price comparisons for countries and what countries are more expensive to live in and what cities are more expensive to live in and what the cost of living is compared to where you're coming from. What local salaries are in certain areas will give you an idea of what the locals, what their style of living would be. Are you willing to live like the locals, or do you need something more? Or are you a backpacker and you can do with less? Any way you look at it, traveling light is beneficial. Traveling light is beneficial. And I suggest that you not buy property anywhere. Rent. That means if there's something noisy that goes in next to you, you can always move. If they build a skyscraper next to you and they're in the process of building, well, that kind of takes the charm out of the place that you're living, and you need to be able to move. Month to month is always the best, usually. However, you can get year-long leases. But along with that year-long lease, I would put a stipulation in there that if there's noise pollution that happens, then you can cancel the lease. There are so many things. In some countries, you rent a place, you're totally responsible for all repairs and anything that's needed to take care of that place while you are in possession of it. In other countries, it is the person who owns the property's responsibility to keep it maintained for you as a renter. The laws of different lands all vary. And you need to be aware. You need to be aware. Oh, now, some of you are still using lower frequency substances. And some of those will get you jailed for a long time if you think that you're going to do those same activities in foreign countries. I suggest you give them up. I'm speaking about drugs of any kind, other than prescription drugs that are only used for a short period of time. There is much to consider in a move. It can be charming at first and exciting at first, and when you arrive on the ground in that country, it can be overwhelming because there's a lot of things to find. You need to find your place, that place that feels right to you to settle down into. And always your source self can guide you. And it can guide you when it's time for you to leave an area. When you have accomplished whatever purpose it is that you were supposed to be there and experience. And it's time to move on to experience something more. Something more. So now I've covered pretty much the major things that you need to consider. If you're expecting to find people to replace the people at home, it will not always be successful. You are odd man out at home. You're a source player. It is not likely going to be any different in that relationship, in that regard, with relationships, because you're you wherever you're at, in the area where you're at versus in another country. You're still you. You take you with you wherever you go. And whatever you think, you are projecting out from you. Your experience is you. Now, if you're fear-based and full of worry and fear, then that's a lower frequency, and you will drop to those frequency levels and attract those things to you. If you have an unlocked script, well, whatever you think, you invite and create into your experience here. Keep your thoughts under control. Remember to use that little mind swipe technique when a thought crosses your mind. Now, your source self might give you a thought to keep you safe because you are doing something you shouldn't be doing and may be trying to get your attention. But other thoughts are clearly you worrying about things that you shouldn't be worrying about. And you need to be able to have a good enough source self connection to determine and distinguish between those. Now, if you find the information that I share on this channel to be beneficial to you, then it benefits you to do an energy exchange as a thank you via a gift via PayPal. The link is in the description box below. Abundance, health, and prosperity to you.